Well now, let's hope this isn't the final game you'll ever play.
I'm not planning on going easy on you. I'm going all out from the start.
Duel!
Here I go. It's my turn. Spell card E. Emergency call. Don't they have a cool power? and I have an unbreakable bond. I activate my quick play spell, Super Polymerization. Come out. I fusion summon a monster. I activate my spell card, Miracle Fusion. Come out. I fusion summon a monster. This duel was fun, but it all has to come to an end. I attack with my run. That.
Let the game. Every your evil duel. It's my turn. I activate a spell. Observe. I summon a monster in attack position when monster effect activates. When monster effect activates.
With my car.
Duel. It's my turn. A field spell. Activate a spell. It's my turn.
Hey. Yeah.
It's good to see you, Professor.
And you. I was hoping our paths would cross today, before you immersed yourself in studies. Did I hear you masterfully evade Professor Weasley's interrogation regarding our late arrival?
I did my best, but I'm fairly certain she suspects that we're not being entirely forthcoming.
Yes, well, Professor Weasley is a brilliant and astute witch. It was right to keep the details to yourself for now. We don't know where this path we've embarked upon will lead. It may require a bit more flexibility with your time than she would approve of. And she may feel obliged to share details with the headmaster that would be better left between us.
Understood, Professor.
Good. Now, as capable as you are, I believe the ability you possess obliges you to be well-trained. Happily, you have the benefit of an exceptionally skilled team of witches and wizards to guide you. Speaking of guides, and so that I may avoid another not-so-subtle reproof from Professor Weasley, why don't I show you the clever enchantment we included in the field guide's map? Unfold it and have a look. The map is enchanted to help you find your way.
This will be incredibly helpful. Thank you.
Now, sounds like you've quite a day ahead, what with classes and a trip to Hogsmeade for supplies, including your own wand. You'll enjoy Mr. Ollivander. He's an exceptional craftsman and a good friend. I shall reach out when I have more information about our mysterious locket. For now, focus on your classes and pay attention. More than your owls may hinge on the magic you are able to master within these walls.
Did you see Claire's hair today? She tried a color change in college. It's the color of dragon gum.
I dropped one of the crystal balls in divination. Shattered everywhere. I was mortified. I will say that Professor and I seemed much calmer than I expected. Still, not on board.
I'm glad there's a Slytherin.
Bees! Woohoo!
Professor Ronan tends to go on a bit. We sometimes have to remind him to finish the lesson.
Some of us don't necessarily want him to get back to the lesson.
Here, behind you. There is an open seat here.
Thank you.
Hello, I am Nettie. So you are the new student. Have you met Professor Ronan yet?
Shall we begin? Welcome to Year 5 of Charms. Now, this will be a crucial year in your education on the art of charm work, but I am confident that we will take hold with the passion and rigor requisite of such a challenge. Right, now, everyone, please open your textbooks to page 517. But before we begin, can anyone here tell me the difference between the incantations of the color change and growth charms? Anyone? Anyone? I am afraid it is too late to study now. My, the summer months must have really taken a toll on you all. By the looks of it, you all spent your holidays practicing Obliviate on one another. Do you even remember how to perform a basic summoning charm? Well, it seems that we are in dire need of review. Everyone get into pairs and take positions on opposite sides of the classroom. Now let's put those textbooks to use as the blunt objects you so believe they are, and take turns summoning them out of one another's hands. Only one book will be needed per partnership, Miss Dale. Thank you. Get into place now.
Accio.
That is not bad.
You are a swift learner. I see a lot of potential, but remember, potential is nothing without practice. Keep at it. You might just rival Miss Onai here. Very good, everyone. That's enough of that. Well, as you all seem to have the basics down, and it is an exceptionally lovely day, I was thinking that we might have ourselves a little excursion outside for a spot of fresh air. After me. I've always found that fun goes hand in hand with mastery, as I'm sure the Quidditch players amongst us would agree, So, what better than a bit of sport to put our prowess with the summoning charm to the test, right? So why don't we have our newest student start us off? Very simply, cast Accio on one of the spheres and relinquish your charm at the last possible moment. Now, Accio, this like gobstone. That's it! Excellent control there. Happens to the best of us. Very good. Very good. Points to Slytherin. But there's certainly no sport in playing without some friendly competition. Miss Onai, would you care to give our new student a bit of a challenge? Come on up. You'll be the blues, just as before, and Miss Onai, you are playing red. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Here we go. Phew.
Accio.
Stay focused.
That is how it's done.
Splendid!
Watch this. There we go.
Accio!
Nicely done.
Let us make this a bit more interesting, shall we?
I think we are well past interesting at this point.
I'll say.
Enough chatter. Focus now. You will need it. This round settles it all.
Let us see this. Phew.
Accio!
Be sharp. That is how it's done.
Accio!
Do not think I will start going easy on you now.
That's it!
Watch this. I know everyone is watching, but try not to be nervous. You are doing quite well.
Accio!
Very good, both of you. Well done. Class is dismissed. Gather your things on the way out.
Well done back there. You took the loss in stride. Didn't want to go too easy on you. Took me weeks to become proficient with Accio. Took weeks for me to get anything right when I transferred here. It gets easier, I promise.
That's good to hear. It's a lot to take in all at once.
To put it lightly, I remember how I felt when I first arrived. I transferred here from Wagadu just before my 4th year. My mother received an offer to teach divination here. Before I knew it, we had left Uganda and were halfway around the world at a new school in a new country.
Well, it's been nice talking and competing with you.
And with you. Ah, I think Professor Ronan wants to talk to you. Better not keep him waiting. Until next time.
Of course, you can use Accio on humans, if you're so inclined.
Accio!
You'd be using it on clothing.
A word, if you would.
You know it won't work on humans.
You wanted to speak with me, Professor?
I did. I trust your first charms lesson lived up to expectation?
Well, an outdoor competition wasn't exactly the lesson I was expecting, sir.
What charm is there in the expected? Miss Onai is a talented witch. Take it in stride. One often gains the most from the battles one has lost.
Of course, Professor. It was a challenging match.
Miss Onai is always a fierce competitor, though I sense that she is a bit distracted of late. Now, Professor Weasley has asked that your professors give you instruction outside of the ordinary curriculum. Expect to hear from me soon regarding a special assignment that I am preparing for you.
Hello there. You're the new student, aren't you?
Is that all you've got?
Levioso!
Professor Hecat!
Perhaps you'd be good enough to blast each other to pieces in your own time. I get new students every year, but I only have one Hebridean black skull. It was a token from the Great Poacher Raid of 1878. No doubt you've heard of it. Now, you may be asking yourself how an old woman like me single-handedly took out the largest poacher ring in eastern Wales and lived to boast about it. Knowledge. To the wise, age matters very little. Today we will review a spell that has saved me from death at the hands of dark wizards more times than I care to remember. Levioso.
Levioso? A levitation charm?
Levioso! A surprised opponent is a weak opponent. Care to defend yourself, Master Pruitt? No? One thing I've learned as an unspeakable is the value of simplicity, especially in the heat of battle. Now, let's practice what we've just learned, starting with something small.
Levioso!
Now, let's try something a little larger. Let us begin with a basic cast. See how the dummy deflected your cast? This time, cast Levioso first, then the basic cast. Remember...
Levioso!
Good! Now, well done. Very good. But the best way to practice is by dueling. We'll start with you two. Duelists, take your marks.
Time for a proper Hogwarts welcome.
Now, I want a fair duel, using only Levioso, basic cast, and Protego. You may begin.
Protego! Levioso!
This can't be your first duel.
Let's just say I'm a quick...
I do enjoy a lively duel.
Stupid Protego!
Excellent.
Levioso!
All the my students for this adept. Watch your opponent for signs to attack or defend yourself.
Not bad for a beginner. You give as good as you get.
I put you on the spot, and you rose to the challenge. Points to Slytherin.
Thank you, Professor Hecat. Glad to have the opportunity to practice.
If what I've seen today is any indication, we can expect great things from you. I demand excellence from my students. They are capable of achieving it, and they must achieve it. A classroom duel is one thing, but battling dark wizards, or as ever more likely, goblins, is a different kettle of Grindylows entirely.
Understood, Professor.
So, I'd advise you to keep practicing whenever you can. Perhaps Mr. Sallow will have some ideas for you. Again, well done today. I shall reach out soon with additional assignments. All right. That's enough spectacle for one day. Class is just...
Nice work.
I enjoyed that.
Well, that duel was quite something. Everyone will be talking about it.
It was certainly good practice.
Practice? Felt more like I was dueling an expert. Didn't expect a new student to be so deft with a wand. Then again, perhaps this wasn't your first duel.
I've dueled enough. Consider yourself lucky I held back.
Huh, fair enough. You owe me an honest duel when you aren't. You know, you might be a perfect fit for a certain exclusive, unsanctioned dueling organization.
Exclusive and unsanctioned? Count me in.
Excellent. Knew I was right about you. If you want to get the most out of your time at Hogwarts, you're going to need to break the rules now and then. Whether it's joining a secret dueling club, or sneaking into the restricted section of the library, you just have to be clever enough not to get caught.
Thank you, Sebastian. I'll keep that in mind.
Good. Pleasure chatting with you. I'm sure I'll see you soon. Perhaps somewhere unsanctioned? We'll see if your performance today was sheer luck, or actual skill. Look for Luke and Brattleby near the clock tower entrance. If you're interested. Till next time.
I'd hate to face Professor Hecat in a duel.
Life seems rather dull in the house these times.
Here I've come from the toilet bowl where she said I could swim, did you praxia mole? As long as 'twere only one time per week, I can plunge the boy's lavatory, not for the meek.
Please, Peeves, you'll make me late.
He tried to stop me, did rancorous carp, sought to trap me, confine me inside of a jar. But he failed, as did his containment charms, so I took my revenge to wreak havoc and harm. It was granted my privileges be handsome indeed, or I'd fire up the cannon, and so she agreed. To draw up a contract with her, not with him, that if I behaved, I'd have one weekly swim! Whee!
I'll get you for this.
Glad you could make it. Lucan's just over there.
Can I help you? Can I help you?
Sebastian told me to see you about a club.
If Sebastian vouches for you, that's all I need to know. I coordinate duels for crossed wands. A dueling club of sorts. It's invitation only, so you must have really impressed Sebastian.
I'm flattered to hear that. Sebastian's not a bad duelist either.
Imagine it's quite something to see the two of you duel.
How does cross wands work exactly?
You show up, I match you with other duelists, and whoever is still standing in the end wins. It's our way of determining the school's greatest duelist once and for all. And to liven things up, the winner is awarded a prize. Interested?
Of course. Dueling's an entertaining pastime.
I agree. Besides, in crossed ones, you can duel with a partner if you like. Your first time I'll pair you with Sebastian. Next time, you'll need to bring a partner along, or duel alone. So, care to step into the ring?
Get me in the ring.
Spectacular! Let the fireworks begin!
We'll make you regret signing up.
Protego! Stupefy!
Descendo!
Stupefy!
Is that all you've got? Ringo!
Levioso! Stupefy! Levioso!
You're better than that!
Expulso!
Protego! Stupefy!
Don't leave her away now.
There goes my wager. Perhaps one day I'll sign up for a round.
Nice work. Sebastian wasn't wrong about you. There's strong competition ahead, but keep this up and you could be the next school champion.
Brilliant. Count me in.
I shall. Now, it takes time to organise these duels, but check with me later. I may have something lined up for you. Again, congratulations on your first crossed wands victory. Well fought. Hope to see you back here again.
Next time you need a partner for crossed wands, don't hesitate to call on me.
I feel sorry for your next opponent.
Don't get... Lumos. Revelio.
What about the room, Professor?
I was thinking the same thing, Deke. Perhaps you could help.
Oh, excuse, Deke.
Ah, there you are. I trust your first classes went well?
They did, Professor.
I heard as much from Professors Hecat and Ronan. Seems Professor Fig taught you quite a bit before you arrived. I'd wager there's a good deal more to your travels here than what you've told me. Isn't there?
Have you and Professor Fig not discussed my training?
He continues to be reticent about the details, mentioning only a few spells. Revelio, was it? And Lumos?
That's correct, Professor.
I see. Like trying to get a sonnet from a streeler. Regardless, you must continue to build upon what you've learned. In that regard, I've asked your professors to help hasten your progress with some extra assignments.
Professor Ronan did mention something about that.
In fact, Professor Ronan will meet you outside momentarily to assign your first one. Now, regarding the trip to Hogsmeade I mentioned earlier, we've arranged to replace the supplies lost on your way here, including seeds, potion recipes, and spellcrafts.
Thank you, Professor.
And Mr. Ollivander will connect you with the perfect wand. You've managed your classes well with a borrowed wand, but you'll find the magic you cast with your own wand to be far superior.
I'm eager to get to Hogsmeade.
Very well. I'd like you to make your first visit to the village with a classmate. Help you get your bearings. Perhaps Sebastian Sallow or Natsai Onai. I've noticed you spending time with them.
I'd like to go with Sebastian.
Glad to hear it. Mr. Sallow is a capable young wizard, and he knows the area. He'll keep you well clear of any of Victor Rookwood's undesirables en route.
Rookwood?
A rather unsavory local. Best to avoid him and his associates, including his right hand of sorts, Theophilus Harlow, if you can. Once you've finished Professor Ronan's assignment, your friend will meet you at the castle doors. No time to waste. The sooner you complete your work, the sooner you can enjoy a butterbeer at the Three Broomsticks.
Ah, there you are.
You have a new spell to teach me, Professor.
Indeed I do, and an exceedingly useful one at that. The mending charm, Reparo. Fixes things right up, makes a broken object good as new in the blink of an eye.
It seems as if that might come in handy.
More frequently than one would imagine. As Professor Weasley mentioned, I am not the only one who will be teaching you spells outside of class in an effort to catch you up with your peers. A number of your professors have agreed to do so as well, but first, each shall ask that you complete a few preliminary tasks to hone your magic. I have arranged some for today. See them through and then report back to me. We will have you casting Reparo in no time.
I'll start on the task right away, Professor. Accio! Got it. Revelio. A flying page must be around here somewhere.
I'm sure at this point you've heard a million people say that America in 2026 is just like the late Roman Empire. You know, where this civilization collapsing and crumbling under its own weight. I'm here to tell you once and for all that America isn't Rome. It's actually more like the medieval Holy Roman Empire. So basically a massive federation with a mythical history that looks like a huge mess, but somehow it works. Also, just as a side note, medieval history is just as cool as Roman history, so it's time for all you Romaboos to jump ship and become medieval boos. Now, before we continue, let's first just concretely establish what the Holy Roman Empire actually was. To put it simply, it was a 1,000-year-long experiment in decentralized survival. So it was originally born in 800 AD when the Pope crowned Charlemagne as a new Roman emperor to give a chaotic post-Roman Europe this sense of divine unity. The empire was then formalized with the coronation of Otto I in 962, for those keeping score at home. It wasn't necessarily a modern nation like we have today. It was more like this supersized legal federation of hundreds of tiny sovereign states comprising parts of Italy, Germany, and France that really only stayed together because a figurehead emperor and this massive web of courts prevented them from constantly killing each other. Maybe this sounds familiar to my American audience, but like I said, the empire lasted 1,000 years, and it was only brought to its knees by Napoleon in 1806. What's important to understand is that the Holy Roman Empire didn't fall because it was weak, and it didn't fall because of cultural decay or barbarians at the gates. It fell because it became this monster that was too complex to be managed from one single authority, and also Napoleon in his prime. I think all of us in this country right now are looking around and kind of feeling like we're living in a system that's outgrown its own skin in a way. You've got the tech hubs on the West Coast that are basically acting like medieval sovereign city-states, and then there's the industrial heartland of the Midwest that feels more like an abandoned fiefdom. Silicon Valley, more like medieval Nuremberg, am I right? We're gonna get into the foundation of the Holy Roman Empire and the foundation of our modern United States, but let's dig a little deeper into that tech hub thing real quick, because massive rounds of tech layoffs seem to be happening every other week. In certain areas, you see tons of abandoned buildings and blown out factories and roads covered in potholes. And then you go to these neighborhoods in like Austin or San Francisco, and you're just bombarded with this fantastic wealth. It's a crazy imbalance, and this is actually exactly how the Holy Roman Empire functioned. It was made up of a collection of Reichskreise, or imperial circles, divided up by region. Some of them were super wealthy and peaceful and had awesome trade economies, and then others were just in complete disrepair. You also had what were called free imperial cities like Nuremberg and Frankfurt. They were essentially sovereign city-states, so unlike other parts of the empire that owed allegiance to the local dukes, they only answered to the emperor. So while the majority of Europe was toiling under feudalism, if you lived in a free city, your life was way different. This is exactly why I hate when people try to draw these generalized conclusions about how terrible life was in the Middle Ages, because they assume everyone was a peasant rolling around in the mud. This was obviously not true at all. There was even a famous medieval German saying, "City air makes you free." If we go back a little bit further to 1219, we can see Emperor Frederick II granting the city of Nuremberg a great charter of liberties. This charter massively expanded Nuremberg's privileges, including autonomy and favorable customs arrangements. I don't know about you, but these free cities are starting to sound pretty nice. You're telling me that they were basically regulatory havens while also being central machines of innovation and economic might? Almost makes me wish I could hop in a time machine and go check one out. Oh, wait, I don't have to, because we have the exact same thing in the modern United States. I just mentioned a few of these cities. You've got San Francisco for tech, New York for finance, Austin for innovation. These cities don't feel like the rest of the state that they're in at all. I grew up in Illinois, and I can tell you personally that Chicago is literally this massive urban hub, and then the other 90% of the state is just cornfields and Portillos. It's like two different worlds. The US government tends to treat these cities as too big to fail, so when things go sideways with the economy, the Fed bails out the banks in New York or the tech companies on the West Coast, because these are the high performance areas that provide the tax revenue to keep the flyover states afloat. The historian Peter H. Wilson, in his incredible history of the Holy Roman Empire, Heart of Europe, argued that all of the fragmentation and administrative chaos in the empire was actually a good thing financially. There was just no way with medieval technology that the emperor could tax the whole empire effectively. It just wasn't going to happen. So he relied on the free cities to basically his ATMs, and in return he gave them all of the legal autonomy economy I mentioned before. We are in the same boat now, folks. I don't know if you've noticed, but the US government is having more and more trouble passing national economic legislation because of what I said earlier, the vast disparities between the different parts of this country. So instead, it relies on these super cities to generate a significant portion of the GDP, but the result is that it creates this kind of feudal financial feedback loop. This brings us to a key question: who is steering the ship? In the modern United States, at the head of it all, especially in 2025, it felt like the president was kind of everywhere and nowhere. The big thing when Trump got into office is that he started firing off all of these executive orders, and people couldn't believe how he was expanding the power of the presidency. But then most of the orders were immediately tied up in courts and had no real-world effect. So if you think about it, the central state is kind of like this ghost. It creates a powerful image, but then the actual center is hollow. In the Holy Roman Empire, the center was the emperor, but the real power wasn't with him. You had three main branches. Tell me if this rings a bell. There was the Reichstag for negotiation, the Reichskammergericht for lawsuits, and the Reichsrat as the emperor's own council court. Also, I know I'm gonna have a ton of Germans in the comments tearing me apart for my pronunciation, but before you shit on me, I wanna hear you pronounce rural. That's what I thought. Anyway, this seems like a good time to reiterate that the Holy Roman Empire lasted for 1,000 years. But if their systems were anywhere near as chaotic and insane as ours, then how is this possible? I'll dive into this a bit more later on. Basically, by letting all of these different princes of these different regions be different, the emperor was able to stay relevant. Basically, what I'm saying is that the empire itself acted like a referee, and the referee wasn't just the emperor, it was also the Reichstag and the imperial courts, which gave people a way to fight each other on paper. That being said, they still fought each other in real life anyways, but you know. For most of the history of the empire, the emperor was kind of just a figurehead. Like, he had this cool crown and all that, but his role was really just to protect the majesty of the office. In most cases, he couldn't actually tax his people or raise soldiers for war. He needed the consent of the regional princes for that. So it was a reciprocal system. That makes sense. Just a quick plug before we continue, go ahead and follow me on Instagram. I post a ton of behind the scenes stuff and medieval facts on there, at medieval_mindset. And then also go sign up for my Patreon. I do a book club, podcast. You get voting rights on topics, titles, and thumbnails. You get a special shout out at the end of the video. I post all kinds of extra behind the scenes content there and videos that don't get posted on my main channel. It's really, really worth the money. So go ahead and sign up. Back to the video. There's a real logic to all of this, but just like the modern United States, the boots on the ground reality is pretty different. I'm sure you've heard the famous Voltaire quote where he said that the Holy Roman Empire was neither holy nor Roman nor an empire. You could kind of apply the same quote to the US today. We are neither united nor states nor America. The united part is probably the most important because it feels like we're reaching this fever pitch of cultural and political division that's going to be extremely difficult to come back from. Of course, this has all been introduced by design, and it's the foundation of your social media algorithm, but that's a topic for a different video. Turns out this is pretty holy and Roman too, so maybe we should look back a few centuries to try and understand ourselves. By the mid-16th century, the Holy Roman Empire was tearing itself apart over the Protestant Reformation. Nobody really believed in this modern idea of tolerance back then, so the only answer was legal segregation and then also sometimes a lot of violence. The Peace of Augsburg established a simple rule: cuius regio, eius religio, or whose realm, his religion. So basically, if your local prince was Lutheran, then the whole territory was Lutheran. If he was Catholic, same thing. But here's the part to pay attention to, which is that they created the right of emigration. If you didn't like your prince's religion, you had the legal right to sell your house and move to a territory that you were more spiritually aligned with. This system had its heart in the right place, but the end result was that it turned the Holy Roman Empire into a checkered map of different realities. Literally on foot, you could go from one place where everyone thought the Pope was the Antichrist to another place where everyone viewed him as the Vicar of Christ. In the year of our Lord 2026, your political identity dictates your view on everything: healthcare, education, what a family looks like, the American dream, all of it. In a way, red states and blue states are different kinds of medieval fiefdoms trying to protect themselves from central overreach. If you tell someone you're moving to a new state, literally the first thing they bring up is whether it's a red state or a blue state, regardless of their own political affiliation. So just like a traveler in the 16th century Holy Roman Empire would definitely do a little bit of research and know the religion of an area before they entered it, it's now increasingly important to know no state's political atmosphere. And now that we've gotten a little bit political, let's look at how our national elections work. Here in the States, we've got the Electoral College, which has always been controversial, but especially so in the last few elections. For those outside of the US, basically to sum up the Electoral College simply, it's a system where the president isn't chosen by a direct popular vote of all American citizens. Instead, they're chosen by a specific number of points or electors assigned to each state based on its population. To win, you have to reach a majority of 270 electoral votes, which basically forces candidates to win over individual states instead of just focusing on the total number of voters nationwide. Okay, so now that we have the technical explanation out of the way, let's see how holy and Roman we can get with it. Before 1356, electing the emperor was this insane mess that usually led to some kind of civil war. The Golden Bull of 1356 fixed all of this by basically creating the Holy Roman equivalent of the Constitutional Convention. It fixed the number of electors to 7 to ensure a decisive outcome. So you couldn't have this like 3-3 tie or something. Let me know if any of this starts to sound familiar. The 7 electors were a mix of church and state because you have to remember this is the Middle Ages and the separation between the two was pretty blurry. So you had 3 archbishops selecting and then 4 secular princes selecting also. All right, so far this actually sounds pretty progressive and cool for the 14th century. So what's the problem? Well, the reality was that these 7 guys never actually cared about voting for who was best for the empire. They voted for the person who promised to leave their local privileges alone. Basically, they wanted to elect somebody who would be weak at the center so the individual regions could be strong. Got it? Now let's bring it back to the good old US of A. The original founding fathers were obsessed with the history of republics and elective monarchies. While you and me look at the Holy Roman Empire and think, hell yeah, guys being dudes, Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton looked at it as a warning. If you have too few electors, like say 7, they're easy to bribe. If you have a direct popular vote, the areas with the largest population will just bully the less populated areas. So you need a third solution. I mean, we just look at Hamilton's literal justification for the Electoral College. It sounds like it was almost copied word for word from the Golden Bull of 1356. A small number of persons, selected by their fellow citizens from the general mass, will be most likely to possess the information and discernment requisite to such complicated investigations, preventing tumult and disorder. In his book Heart of Europe that I mentioned earlier, the historian Peter H. Wilson argues that the reason most people nowadays completely misunderstand the Holy Roman Empire is because they try and view it as a nation state, like modern France or Germany or Italy. In reality, it was a legal order that was intended to prevent any one person or region from becoming too powerful. The election process was essentially the safety valve. In a similar way, you could argue that the US obviously isn't a democracy in the sense of one person, one vote. It's a constitutional legal order. The Electoral College basically makes sure that the president isn't a leader of the people, but a leader of the Federation of States. All right, finally, now that we've established the backbone of my genius historical comparison, this seems like the perfect time to go back to the beginning so we can understand how the US and the Holy Roman Empire ended up this way. I'm sure you already know all about the Founding Fathers and the Declaration of Independence and 1776 and all that, at least if you're American. But have you ever heard of the Donation of Constantine? It was the most successful forgery in human history. You see, by the late 8th century, the papacy was gaining more and more legitimacy as an earthly power, and the Pope wanted the Western European strongman Charlemagne to help him ascend. So he conveniently unearthed this ancient document, supposedly written by the Roman Emperor Constantine after being cured of leprosy by Pope Sylvester in the 4th century. I guess Constantine was so fired up about not having leprosy anymore that he decided to grant Pope Sylvester supreme authority over the Western Roman Empire. So the Pope shows Charlemagne this bogus document and says, see, my authority comes directly from the original Romans. So we're not creating a new empire, we're returning the stolen Western Empire to its rightful papal owner. Then I, the Pope, can loan the empire to you, Charlemagne, and in return, you can use your huge army to help me with my political pursuits. At the time, this sounded like a fantastic deal, and most importantly, it made the freshly created empire headed by Charlemagne the legal heir to the greatness of Rome. So we've got the Holy Roman Empire using a fake document to claim the authority of ancient Rome. What's the problem with that? Doesn't every empire in history have a creation myth? Well, let's look at what happened a few hundred years after Charlemagne, when the situation in Western Europe was considerably different, but the donation of Constantine was still being upheld as the absolute standard. In medieval property law, you had to prove a chain of title, which basically shows who owned the land before you. So let's say some monastery or a local lord is in a dispute with the Holy Roman Emperor over a piece of land in, I don't know, Tuscany. All of a sudden, the papal lawyers whip out a dog-eared copy of the donation of Constantine. Maybe they even say something like, hey buddy, the emperor can't grant you this land because the emperor doesn't actually own Italy. Constantine gave it to Pope Sylvester in 315 AD, so only the Pope has the legal right to approve this whole thing. Do you see how this might cause problems? Now fast forward about 1,000 years to the late 18th century when the founding fathers are putting the governing ideals of the fledgling United States onto paper. There was a pretty forward-thinking fella involved named Thomas Jefferson, who was also an expert on history and understood that something like the donation of Constantine could basically turn into a dead hand ruling the living. He famously said in 1816, "Some men look at constitutions with sanctimonious reverence and deem them like the Ark of the Covenant, too sacred to be touched. But I know that laws and institutions must go hand in hand with the progress of the human mind." So while the Holy Roman Empire was using a forged document from the 8th century to try and solve problems in a totally different paradigm hundreds of years later, now in 2026 you have lawyers in the US trying to figure out the original intent of guys from 1787 to settle disputes about AI and semi-automatic weapons and digital privacy. During the Renaissance, a scholar named Lorenzo Valla finally figured out that the donation of Constantine was fake. He said, wait a second, this uses words like fief and satrap that didn't exist in Constantine's 4th century Latin. It's hard for me to believe that my goat, 6'2", handsome, charisma-maxed, literacy-pilled Charlemagne fell for such an elementary ruse. Boom! Just like that, the whole foundation of the Holy Roman Empire was proved to be false, even though clearly the document did what it was supposed to, because the empire lasted for a millennium before it finally fell apart in the early 19th century. You see a lot of folks trying to do the same thing now in the US by pointing out the obvious character flaws of the founding fathers, as if to say that these flaws mean that everything they ever did or said was wrong. In reality, this is missing the point completely. Both the Holy Roman Empire and the modern US are basically idea states. The empire claimed that it was the secular arm of Christendom and the protector of the universal faith. The United States claims that it's the leader of the free world and the city upon the hill. All of this is just a retread of the ancient concept of translatio imperii, which is that the mantle of empire moves from one civilization to the next. It argues that there's no such thing as the decline and fall of an empire, just the natural succession of power. Medieval thinkers traced this succession differently based on where they are from. So Otto of Freising in 12th century Germany said it went from Rome to the Franks to the Lombards, then to the Germans. Richard de Bury in 14th century England claimed that it went from Athens to Rome to Paris to England. So basically the answer to who currently holds the keys to civilization depends on who you ask, and that hasn't changed in the last 1,000 years. Now, the last point I'm gonna make before we wrap things up is a definite stretch, but I'm shoehorning it in simply because I wanted an excuse to talk about Emperor Frederick II Hohenstaufen, also known as the Wonder of the World. I did a previous video about how a lot of medieval rulers were apparently super tall and handsome, but according to the contemporary chronicles, Frederick was bald, he was short-sighted, and he was pretty rough on the eyes, and yet he mogged them all. You see, Fred was a Holy Roman Emperor whose heart wasn't totally with Germany, mostly because he was raised in Sicily, which was basically like the New York City compared to medieval Germany, which was more like Mobile, Alabama. Sicily was this multicultural, high-tech hub of the Mediterranean, and Frederick spent his whole life trying to rein in the German princes from his more progressive Sicilian base. I mean, this guy spoke a bunch of different languages, he was interested in all different religions and cultures, he was an expert in falconry, and he loved all forms of science and art. He was essentially a Renaissance man a few hundred years before the Renaissance. The only problem is that all of this made him an outsider, and it also totally separated him from the empire he was trying to rule. I mean, look at the modern United States, where tech bros in California or the wealthy political class in DC basically try to run a nation full of people that are just trying to make ends meet. The upper crust of our country basically lives in their own version of evil Sicily, with global finance and international relations and all the other stuff Frederick loved. The only problem is that the German princes didn't understand Frederick, and they didn't see things from his perspective. They didn't trust him or his motives. lives. The same could be said of those in the American heartland. As an American, it feels like my central government and all of the billionaires who pull the strings live in a fundamentally different reality than I do, so how could they possibly be operating in my best interests? Also, just like the Holy Roman Empire, Frederick's time, we've created this paradigm where you can't just criticize someone, you basically have to insinuate that they're the embodiment of pure evil. This makes it really hard to bring these issues up or have a normal, constructive conversation about them. Frederick went through this, especially because he had continual beef with the Pope, so he was always accused of being the Antichrist and also a beast from the sea, which is a biblical reference, but I feel like I'd lean into that one. That's a pretty cool nickname. On the other end of the spectrum, his supporters were in awe of him and called him the God King, or Stuber Mundi, the wonder of the world. They talked all about how he's a genius and one of the most consequential figures who had ever lived. So half of the people thought he was literally the devil, and the other half thought he was a god, and theoretically he was supposed to rule over everyone. That sounds a lot like somebody I know, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Anyway, let's land the plane here. Sometimes I feel like the obsession with comparing America to ancient Rome kind of stems from this deep-rooted desire for civilizational collapse. There's a certain kind of person who wants to see it all go up in flames, or at least that's what they say on Reddit. The actual reality is that they would be the first ones to be sacrificed in any apocalyptic scenario. But I think we need to be really careful in our historical comparisons, because in a way, the story you tell about yourself and your civilization is what defines your future as a society. The Holy Roman Empire saw itself as descended from the original noble beauty of the Roman Empire and sought to uphold its power and virtue. It then technically lasted for 1,000 years, although there was a ton of internal strife and constant chaos. Maybe the lesson here is that just because times are currently tough doesn't mean that the sky is falling down. Maybe it's just another medieval repeat, this period of adjustment before we shift into something new. But what do you think? Is the US just like the Holy Roman Empire, or is there another historical civilization that is a better fit? Let me know in the comments. As always, I'm John, this has been Medieval Mindset, and remember, the past isn't gone, it's simply waiting to be rediscovered.
Trump makes a bold announcement about Iran for this weekend. Now, it is Friday. So what does this mean? Is this just a leverage push to try to get his way with Iran, or are we really going to strike this weekend? We're going to discuss that and what he stated. Also, we're going to talk about what Islam has said. I mean, it's amazing how we talk about the dangers of this group, and it is very dangerous. We're worried about the Middle East, and okay, it's okay. We need to be honest about it, though. Joe Kent, who is Department of Intelligence tied to Tulsi Gabbard's office. Wait till you hear how many confirmed terrorists are here in America. Wait till you hear this. He actually broke this in December, and it got swept under the rug. It took 19 to do 9/11. It took a few hundred, they said, to do something like October 7th. Now, wait till you hear how many Joe Kent said in a Senate hearing. How many terrorists are here on our soil? So when we have the biggest buildup in the Middle East going towards Iran, our focus may need to be here, because that same terror group that's over there is infiltrated America. It's unbelievable. Also, we're going to discuss Tucker Carlson's Israel push. You know, he talks about being detained. I've got video footage. that was just uncovered that he wasn't at all. Hugging, giving hugs, taking pictures. The guy's just a fraud, guys. All he wants to do is show his hatred of one group, and he wants to make sure he personifies that. Even down to the pastor that he chose to interview. The pastor's not even actually from Israel, the greater Israel area where Israel's in control. He actually got a pastor who was from the Palestine area that has no Christians hardly living there, not even under Jewish rule. And the guy's not even actually full-time living in Palestine. He lives in Palestine. He lives in Florida. It's all smoke and mirrors and lies. Wait till you hear these stories along with so many more, because to be honest with you, the attack on the churches get even worse. Tucker Carlson's one thing. Wait till you hear what CNN is doing to Christianity and what their push is against it, along with some of the people of the quote-unquote conservative movement. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here this weekend. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new, please go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell. Give us a thumbs up or thumbs down, that's okay, but let us know what you think about the content of today's video. Now, at the end of the video, we are going to be doing a giveaway. Make sure you stay to the end of the video and see who wins. It's going to be one of our subscribers from our two channels, so make sure that you watch the video. Hopefully you enjoy it, give us a thumbs up. Hopefully it gives you a little wisdom, and then again, check out who wins at the very end. It takes nothing to be entered other than you subscribing to the channel. So now let's jump into the stories of the day. First, let's talk about Trump's push in Iran. Now, he came out and stated that by this weekend, that he could potentially see a strike coming to Iran. Now, remember, it's Friday, so we're to a point where there is no other day. It's tomorrow. Is what we're thinking here, or Sunday. Now, is he saying this because he knows he's not going to do it and it's just a threat? I do believe that he does that a lot. I think he throws it out there to see what people are going to react to. Now, one thing I do find a little strange is there's a new report that states that there's never been this amount of buildup in the Middle East. In the Middle East since 2003. Listen to this. It says, breaking, the U.S. has now amassed a bigger force, the biggest in the Middle East since 2003 invasion in Iraq. Now, I don't like hearing that because personally, I don't want to see troops over there to do anything other than get in, get out, and go. Now, when we're amassing this amount, if you saw my video, I think 2 days ago, I talked about the amount of traffic going over there that our military supplies was going. And it's not just aircraft carriers, it's literally everything we need, tankers, military brigades, and then also true boots on the ground stuff. Now, does that mean we're going to have boots on the ground? I don't know. I don't understand how we're going to waste all this money just to simply say, well, it's just can come alongside and help. Call this number below. I don't understand this. I don't get why we want to be friends with people who hate our guts. I don't get it. You know what else came out with the FC situation? It said that most of these Middle Eastern countries, this is just common practice. These elitists and these people, they know they can go to the Middle East and get this because that is a common practice where they look at minors and they look at especially women as second-grade citizens. So therefore, this is a common practice. They said that's why FC had such a big relationship with some of the biggest governments in the Middle East. And that's not just Israel. Now, he may have been an Israel asset. It's because they were probably getting information on all the Middle Eastern countries that were doing this. They said Epstein was just probably 1% of really what's going on. Well, that should make you feel like crap, shouldn't it? So here we go. We have a situation where our homeland is in danger. We're still paying terrorists tons of money. That's not counting the Somali money, which is going to Muslims. That's not counting this guy stating he is willing to see millions die in the name of Islam to grow. It's happening all over America. Georgia, they're building a Gaza Strip, they said. Texas, Plano and those areas are getting the big epic city that they're building, dealing with Muslims. You have Minnesota and Michigan. Oh my gosh, we're not even going to talk about those. New York, of course, the biggest city in the nation. Virginia's lieutenant governor. This is going to keep on happening. You know why? Because we've lost our identity and lost ourselves. I want you to listen to what this basically a leader in Great Britain just stated, and he's exactly right. And Elon Musk has been talking about this too. This is from Rupert Lowe. It says, "I'm sick of hearing that the problem is white men." It says there's nothing wrong with being white. There's nothing wrong with being a man. There's nothing wrong with being a straight white conservative man. And somehow we're the ones that are guilt tripped to be the fall of America. I thought these numbers were good. Listen to this. It says the left demonizes white people and tells you all these groups are so much better and that the white people are the problem. It says, here's the percent of populations and the amount of taxes they pay to take care of the American nation. Listen to this. Whites make up 59% of America, yet pay 72% of all taxes. Hispanics, 19%, and only pay 10%. Blacks, 13%, only pay 6% of taxes. Asians, 6%, only pay 8%. So actually they're over. They're like the whites. They're getting kind of, they're overpaying their representation and not getting representation. Which again, I believe that we're not even going to go there. I mean, I believe the whole Chinese immigrant thing, all that stuff is wrong anyway, but I digress. The other groups, like all these other